morning, Earthlings. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Hope all is well in your world. Let's jump into our cosmic weather for today. All right, over at spaceweather.com, we can see our solar wind is currently at 406 kilometers per second, 406 kilometers per second. We have a planetary K-index at the moment of a 1. Not expected to get higher than a 2 in the next 24 hours. Same situation about as yesterday with the corona holes, nothing there of significance. And then we go down here to our flares, 40% chance of flare, so it's dropped down another 10% from yesterday. X-class, I think it was about 5 yesterday, right? So we're about the same place. So some changes, some not. We're still feeling the effects of the solar flare that hit the planet and our CME that we crossed through, and so that's what's going on. People are getting some great pictures. So if you got a camera and you're from, keep it handy, just in case. You never know what you might capture. All right, astrologically, we are right here. So first thing, sun sign. Sun sign for the month, for the next week, is Scorpio. We've been dealing with the Scorpio energy for a couple of weeks now. Scorpio is a water sign. Water is an element that we use in our lives every day. Our bodies are made up of water. Water is abundant upon this planet. Water is very important then. Well, we know that there's water. You can go into the shallow water and you can go into the deep water. Shallow water, you can look down and you can see what's in the water. But the further you go and the deeper the water gets, you're not able to see as far. And then as it goes down further, it gets darker. Just because it's past the light. The light's not shining that far down into the water, and therefore the deeper it gets and the darker it gets, you don't know what's down there. Sometimes we become afraid of the things that we don't know that are in the dark. So around this time, we have lots of feelings that come up around the Scorpio energy that is sometimes related with scary things. We have the Halloween season. So people's feelings are affected. Feelings, water, emotions. And that's what's going on. But we're going from that phase, we're going to the next phase from Scorpio on into Sagittarius. Okay? Which is a different type of energy. But we're not there yet, so I'm not going to jump ahead. So we're still dealing with the emotions, the feelings on the outer surface, right? But underneath, our unconscious mind is the moon. And the moon sign today is void of course, which means it's between two signs. So it's between the Sagittarius and the Capricorn. Sagittarius being a fire sign, Capricorn being an earth sign. So fire represents ideas. Capricorn is earth. Earth is form. Take idea. The whole idea is very simple. You relate them to the tarot cards. You got fire, water, air, and earth. Fire is ideas. Water is love. Air is actions or words. Earth is the form. So you take the ideas, sprinkle them with love, speak them as words of love, and create form. Very basic, simple in the universe, and the thing that flows through everything is spirit. So we've got the fire and we got the earth, the first and the last. So we're dealing with a changing of the guard, going from some idea into a tangible form of how we want to see that manifest in the world. All right, and the idea of the Capricorn in the tarot cards is the card of the devil. Now, don't be freaked out by that, because it's just simply dealing with the idea of material world and the materialism. We manifest things in this physical world. That's what we're doing. So the illusion that goes along with the idea of the devil is if we get caught up that physical world is all there is. That's the big problem. That's when we're not really understanding. We're misusing our energy. We're not using it to its potential. So we need to look past that, and then we fly. Because in the tarot cards, the angel or the devil card is actually one of the angels. There's 4 angels, and that's actually one of the angels. Another one of the angels is the Sagittarian card. So you've got one angel and a second angel, Mikael and Uriel. And you got these two angels, and that's what they're represented in the card. So there's nothing about them that you would say is a bad thing, because they're messages. Messages we need to understand. Anyway, I'm rambling again. Let me move on. So that's what's going on astrologically. Now, before I do, let me just say, over the weekend, things are going to clear up. We go out of the void of course moon, and tomorrow we're all Capricorn. Sunday is a void of course moon, and when we come back on Monday, we'll be in one sign again, Taurus. Okay? So that's what's going on. So just kind of chill out this weekend. Don't really make this a weekend of needing to make heavy decisions, because not only is there a situation going on here with a Mercury retrograde, but we also have the void of course moon today, and then again on Thursday. Get a little reprieve on Saturday, where it's going to be in this, completely in Capricorn. All right, moving on. The moon phase, we're on our way up. It's a waxing moon, making our way up from the new moon. We're now 11% of the way full. And then in our Mayan Oracle, we're on the wave spell of love, 13-day wave spell. We're on the third day, which is the free will, so the free will of love. And this is the third tone. The third tone is the electric tone of activation. So today is called the activation of free will, guided by the warrior, which is questioning, using our intelligence to ask questions. So we're activating our free will along this wave spell of love. Okay? We just kind of keep putting the pieces together, and as they come together, you begin to understand more and more. And then supporting cast members, you got the challenging energy and the like-minded energy, and then the hidden power. Challenge for today is our ability to communicate. Listening to the wind, how it communicates to us, to the messages that are being brought to us. The like-minded energy is our power to our ability to use our hands to manifest. Or you can use your hands in other ways to kill. It all depends. So our like-minded energy is how we use our hands. And then, of course, our hidden power is our ability to purify ourselves. This is the hidden power. We all have that ability. We just need to take the time to do it. Okay, then we move from there. The phrase for today: I activate in order to influence bonding wisdom. I seal the process of free will with the electric tone of service. I am guided by the power of intelligence. On the Gregorian calendar, it is the 16th of November, 2012. All right, so continuing on, moving closer to December 21st, we are now 35 days away. 35 days to close out this cycle before we begin the next cycle. So over the course of this week, Dolores Cannon has been the featured presenter here. So this is yet another piece, kind of talking about some of the things she talked about in the last couple videos you saw, but just kind of summarizing the whole thing as well. This is just one video. It's not two parts. I'm going to play the whole thing here, and that's it. So enjoy.
We have spent so many years destroying this planet with the overpopulation and the ecology and what we are doing to the earth itself, that it's getting to the point that it can't handle it anymore. So it was decided, I guess you would say, by the powers that be, one way to change all of this is to develop a new earth, a totally different earth that is pure and beautiful beyond description. Now, how do we do that? I've been told that we're moving into it now. We've been doing it for the last 2 or 3 years. We're moving into this now. We're leaving the old earth, and the earth is separating. We're going to be going into a totally different dimension by raising the frequencies and vibrations of the earth. It will shift into a new dimension. And this is the greatest show on earth because they said all the beings and all the universes are watching, because this has never happened to in any universe anywhere, that an entire planet will shift into a new dimension. And when this happens, it's like two Earths, as though they split. The old Earth is left behind with all the negativity and all the chaos. And the new Earth separates, and it will be totally new and beautiful. Now, those who have raised the vibrations and frequencies of their bodies will shift into the new Earth. And a lot of this is happening right now. A lot of people are feeling this in their bodies because they are having physical symptoms they can't explain. This is happening as the body shifts and changes the vibrations and frequencies of the body. The frequencies can't be changed immediately because it would be too damaging to the body. The body couldn't handle it. It would die. So it has to be done in steps, slowly. Those who are ready, those who are open to this, are the ones who will be going into the new earth by raising the frequencies and vibrations of their body. They have to be willing to learn and to be open to these things. Some of the symptoms that I've been told is depression, heart palpitations, high blood pressure, joint aches and pains, muscle aches and pains. And the people go to the doctor, and the doctor said he can't find anything wrong. Of course, they put them on pills, but they can't find anything wrong. All it is the body is adjusting as it's moving into the different frequencies. And it's going to affect it. It will go on for a little while, and then it will level off. And it'll be okay for a while, and then it'll do it again. The older people are the ones that are having the most physical problems because their bodies are having more problems adjusting to the changing in the frequency. The people in the middle are not having as much. The children, it's not affecting them hardly at all because they've already come in with their frequency changed and the DNA has already been changed. It's the other population that's having difficulty shifting and adjusting to these things. But the body, the DNA is definitely changing. We're told to watch our diets because they want to stay away from heavy red meats. We have to eat food that is lighter because we have to raise the body, make it lighter to shift into this other dimension. And by holding it back by eating heavy foods, we're keeping it from progressing. People are noticing that they don't want these things anymore. The ideal diet is live foods, which means fresh fruits and vegetables. And they said eventually we're going to be going into liquid diets as the body becomes lighter until whenever we cross over into this new world, at first we will have a physical body and then we will turn into pure light. But that can take quite a while. But the ones who will not be going on will be left with the old earth, are those that are caught up in negativity and don't want to change. They will stay with what they have created. The other ones won't because they don't want to be in that density, that negativity anymore. But those will stay with what they have created. If they have karma that has to be repaid, they will have to stay there to repay it. After they die, they will not be allowed to come back to the earth again because the earth will have changed too much. They will be sent to other planets where there is still negativity so they can work out the remaining karma. But it doesn't matter because eventually we'll all get there anyhow. But at this point, there is a separation taking place as the two worlds separate. It's just like in the Bible, in the book of Revelation, where it says those will be left behind. Talks about the new heaven and the new earth. This is what it's talking about. And those that are left behind are the ones who are not ready. They can't change their vibration and frequency that quickly. It has to be happen gradually. You've got to be in it now to move forward. I think even if they realize it's going to be too late, they have to be working on it now at this point. And you're not supposed to go out and try to change anyone. Those who are already enlightened, they're already advanced, they realize what's happening now, They're already there. You don't have to worry about it. The other ones that are so deep into negativity, we're not going to be able to make a difference anyway. They have to find their own way. We're not supposed to convert anyone. It's the ones in the middle that are not sure which way they want to jump. Those are the ones we have to reach, the ones we have to talk to about that things are happening, things are changing, and we're moving into this totally new world. Annie Kirkwood, who wrote the Mary's Message to the World, I was at a conference with her one time, and she talked about having a vision of this happening. And I think it's very significant. She saw the world as a ball. And then she saw the world begin to pull apart and divide the way a cell divides. It began to pull apart and divide. And then it broke apart to where there were two Earths. Over here, in this one, she heard them saying, "We did it, we did it, we did it." Over here, she heard them saying, "Poor thing, she died believing all that." So the one will not be aware of the other. That's what they mean in the Bible by those left behind. They say two people will be working in a field and one is taken and one is left. Two people are sleeping together and one is taken and one is left. That's what it means in the Bible. We won't even be aware that anything has occurred. But you make the decision which way you're going to go. And it's happening now. There's no way we can reverse it. Because they said it's the only way to save the earth is to create a totally new earth and move into it. Man has destroyed civilizations down through time. And each time, it's usually with the bad use of their mind, the misuse of the powers of their mind. And each time, they'd start all over again from the beginning and create a totally new civilization, a new world. They said there's no longer time for that. We can't do it. We can't waste that time. So this is part of the developing of our psychic powers, bringing that back, changing this because we're going to carry it on instead of destroying the world and starting all over again. The old world, Earth will be the one that has the earthquakes, the tsunamis, the volcanic eruptions, all of the wars. That will be left with the old Earth because it's working out its karma. It's trying to get rid of all of this. And those people that are involved with that are those that have to be in that type of atmosphere, what they created. But the rest who want to move on will separate and go into a totally new Earth that is beautiful. This is what's happening right now. The Mayan calendar, the people say, stopped at 2012. What that was, the Mayans themselves shifted. You know, there were many tribes and many civilizations that suddenly disappeared. The Mayans, no one knows what happened to them. There were also several Indian tribes that no one knows what happened to them. They just suddenly disappeared. It was because, in my work, I found they suddenly developed to the point that they could raise their vibrations, and the entire civilization shifted in mass to this other dimension. And because the Mayans were so advanced, they knew what they were doing, they were able to foresee a time in the future when the biggest event would occur, when the entire planet would also shift into the new dimension. And that's when they saw it as 2012, and that's why their calendar stops at that time. And I've been told at that time in 2012 is the culmination. Everything will be in place and we will be set to make the final shift. So we don't have very many years to get all of this in place. That's why we're having all this chaos and problems right now as the two try to decide and separate and shift. So it's a very important time we're in right now. And there's many souls that are coming in right now to be here for it. They volunteered to come. The call went out throughout the universe, volunteers to come and help. They have to be souls that are pure, that have not known violence, have no karma to repay, to come in and help raise the consciousness of those who are here. And these people don't know they're one of these. I find it out in my work. But they have no idea on the conscious level they are one of these who has volunteered to come and to use their energy to help raise the consciousness of the world. And I've been told it's working because now the positive is beginning to overshadow the negative. And we are moving into a new world, and it's beyond anything you could expect. But it's too late to turn back now. It's in the process, and it is happening.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
Alrighty, Dirk. Thank you very much. This is the UFO News for today. Let's check out. I got five stories. First story is from Area 51. These are photos that were taken on November 5th. Some kind of flying saucer of Area 51, submitted by reader Christopher S. As a small group of tourists, we had just left Rachel, Nevada, little alien, and stepped at the black mailbox en route to Area 51 entrance. Earlier in the day, we saw a helicopter in the area, and two people in our group insisted that we were being followed by another man in a blue car. While we were doing our tourist thing at the black mailbox, one of the group members shouted something that caused all of us to turn around. 2 or 3 of these people began snapping photos of a shiny object in the sky. It hovered for a few seconds, seemed to move back and forth in different directions, and after 30 seconds or so took off at an incredible speed. I could not hear noise coming from the object, but it certainly freaked me out. Obviously, everyone was pretty excited, but strangely enough, one lady in our group from Germany got physically ill almost immediately after the sighting. When we got to the entrance to Area 51, she got diarrhea directly in the view of the men in the white truck that sit on the hill. I thought you should see these pictures, but I really didn't want any publicity. I can assure you one thing, I will never go back to Area 51. Alright? So what was it that made this lady react so violently? I don't know, but whatever it was, doesn't sound like a good thing. Okay, now we have over Gila Bend in Arizona. This is as you can see, more than one. I'm an outdoor photographer and I shoot in the sky all the time. I can identify anything in the sky, but not this. I was shooting the sunset when a strange object caught my eye. I turned on my Nikon D7000 camera with a 105mm lens on a tripod to it and shot 5 pics. It appeared to be about 20 miles out from me and moving erratically. It was only visible when it lit up with multiple lights for 4 or 5 seconds at a time. It was getting dark, so I had to use long exposure. So there was some camera shake and movement from the object. The last time it lit up, it appeared to bank out west and instantly disappear. Never saw it again. Alright. So, quite fascinating pictures. He says this is part of one object that just lit up, or, maybe multiple objects. Who knows? Who knows? But it looks pretty interesting. Okay, now, many UFOs near the Earth's sun. We've heard about this. Well, here's some more evidence. So, this is what's going on out there. Check out the most recent footage directly from NASA of the giant UFOs that are orbiting our sun this week. NASA keeps silent, but this strange phenomenon was first announced by Russian scientists several years ago, and yet NASA has no comment. Okay, so this was just the other day, 14th. Remember we saw the one that was out there during the eclipse, and is this the large one we saw the other day? There's a couple out there. Okay. So again, pointing out multiple objects out there by the sun. What are these objects out by the sun, and how were they able to be there with the intense heat of the sun? Good questions, huh? But just keep putting all the pieces together. Think about what Dolores was saying. Think about what the other researchers have said. And you see these things going on, and it's hard to say nothing's happening, right? So there's something definitely going on. Something definitely going on. All right, moving from there. we go over to the volcano Popocatépetl. All right. This was on the 15th. Now we saw the videos of crafts or objects going into the volcano. This is an image coming out of the volcano. All right. Now, is this the long thing that we saw? Remember, we saw a long cylindrical thing going in one day? Well, there you go. Look at that. Something just shot right out of that there volcano. There it is again. Alright, what could go in that volcano and not get burned up? Something not of this world. And of course we know our technology down here on Earth doesn't allow us, as we know, to be able to do such things. So, very interesting. Alright, in the very last UFO news piece here, this is an important one. We're getting closer to a time 35 days away from 21st. There's a lot of people in the world who think the world is going to end. There's a lot of talk about December 21st, and as it gets closer, there will be more. We have seen, you have seen, lots of aliens in UFOs. We've heard lots of talk about aliens. We know that there is something going on, but we've also heard about government projects, and we know how sneaky the military and the governments of the world are. So, Project Bluebeam is one of those projects that we need to now be aware of, because it has been used and tested in a variety of circumstances and situations. And one of the things we remember, we heard, I think it was Carol Rosen, she was saying how Werner von Braun would tell her that the last card would be the alien invasion card, that there was something planned. And so this is Dr. Greer talking about that. Greer says that a false flag alien invasion is imminent. Dr. Stephen Greer covers a lot of ground here, but the major thrust of what he is discussing is a false alien invasion that will be orchestrated by military and their defense contractors. Okay, I got a lot of news. I'm not going to be able to get to all of these, but the links are here to all of these videos, and take time and watch them. Okay, take time and watch them. Let's play a little bit of this first one here. How about that? Here we go.
But be careful. Let's not unite the world against what Werner von Braun warned about, the false alien threat. This is the biggest problem with disclosure. This is the hugest problem. For years, I've thought of retiring from doing any of this, because so much of my work has been hijacked by charlatans who have then turned it into Alien Invasion or Invasion LA. And people come to my things, they find information, and they turn it into a horror flick. They take the stuff we've done and they turn it into another book, and they'll tell you that the evil reptilians and the Greys are here to eat us for lunch, and the Venusians and the ones that look like they came from Scandinavia are our friends, and we're going to have this big. This is all part of a Manichaean, absurd paradigm propounded and actually forced out onto the public through either unwitting dupes of the intelligence community or the intelligence community itself. And the purpose of it is to cause people to have a new enemy. And even if you say, well, there are 1,000 ET species out there that are good, but there are a couple that are bad and we need to resist them and fight them, they've got you. They've got you in the Manichaean, they've got the new enemy. And that's what they want you to believe. This is why so much work went into PLFs, Program Life Forms. And if you look at the videotapes of some of the things like what Stan Romanek, I've been at his home, that one that's in his kitchen that's going like this, that's actually one of the PLFs. And the intelligence community had called him up and said, Stan, this is one of the fake ones. Now, he may have had real contact. I don't know. But I know what that one was. That was a robotic, artificial ET, what I call an alien. See, ETs are extraterrestrial interstellar civilization. Aliens, if you use the word alien, you're talking about the man-made stuff. Because alien is a xenophobic negative word, so I never use it. To me, it's like it's a racist term, alien. I never use it. So the thing that are the aliens are the greys and the reptilian and these other creatures that we've been manufacturing. Now, when did we start doing this? Back in the 40s and 50s. So the facility at Dulce, at the Four Corners area, is a genetics lab. There's a genetics facility at Sandia. There's a facility in Australia. There's a group of physicists I know who work there, and there are these things that look like greys and others coming off a conveyor belt. And they have integrated circuits in their neural complex, and they're put on board these ARVs that look like UFOs, and they use electromagnetic weapon systems and chemicals, and they abduct people. That's what happened to Paris de Cuellar. So and then they have implants. Now the implants, if you look at the implants that are being made, EG&G and a group of other high-tech electronic firms, E-Systems, have been making these in Siemens for decades. If you look at the tape we just released posthumously from a guy named Pollock, disclosureproject.org, top secret guy. He had worked with a man who developed back in the 70s some of the implants that they began to mass produce. Siemens made about 2 billion of them at the time. And these are implants that are RF frequency, radio frequency, and they both connect to satellites, but they can receive signals. And they can affect on a scalar level of what are called psychotronic and radionic type of effects. These are the ones that are being put in people. And the folks who are extracting them, I've looked at the data on it. I'm going, yeah, but I know who's manufacturing this. Now, what they're going to do is say, see, the aliens have done this. So this is the cosmic 9/11 that none of you know about and that no one wants to talk about. This is why I've been blacklisted off of George Nuri's show, because I talked about this. Coast to Coast won't let me on because I've revealed this.
Actually, hold on, I'm going all crazy. Okay, that's it. So you can see there's some important information there. Very important information. There's more here, so watch the videos. All right, that's our UFO news for today. I'm going to jump away real quick, just for about 30 seconds or so. Be right back.
What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of them.
All right, I'm back. Continuing, I got a bunch of things. Let's get through them. Next up, Dr. Paul. Dr. Paul, the only sensible man, speaking out of Hollywood, out of Washington, D.C. And it's too bad they didn't want to allow him through, but it's because he is speaking so much truth. Here we go.
Thank you very much. The battle inside the Beltway heating up, and it is crunch time for Congress to reach a deal on tax hikes and spending cuts. Can a grand bargain be reached by our elected officials? Joining us now is Congressman Ron Paul. Congressman Paul, good to see you. Thanks for coming in. It is the news of the day. We also want to get into a little monetary policy. I'd like to know why you think gold hasn't popped up since the president was reelected. But let's first talk about the fiscal cliff. I think everybody would agree that our economy is growing too slowly. Even if the president got all of his tax hikes in there, it would only get him $80 billion a year. That sounds like a lot, but compared to a $1 trillion deficit, it is not. That still leaves 92% of the deficit unpaid for year by year. On the other hand, if you grow the economy, you could be talking about hundreds of billions of dollars increased into the amount of money that your Treasury gets. So why would he go for the tax increases rather than tax cuts that might stimulate the economy?
He must have a different understanding of economics than you and I have, that raising taxes does not necessarily, produce more revenues. It might even hurt it. So I think they come from a different perspective. Keynesians are taught that you raise taxes if you need more money, and just because that ruins the economy and tax collections go down, they don't seem to realize that. But I don't expect a whole lot of beneficial things to happen between now and the beginning of the year, and they're just going to pass the buck on for a little bit longer and worry about the real problems later on. Like you point out, they're barely touching the problem, and even the cuts that they're talking about that would go into effect aren't even real cuts. They're just cuts on proposed increases. So we're not getting anywhere close to talking about the real issue. And the real issue is the country is bankrupt and the economy is too weak to pay for it. And someday we're going to have to wake up and do some serious changes, like actually cut real spending.
You know, that's an interesting point, because they've done a bunch of studies, of course, recently, because so much of the microscope is focused on this, that even the spending cuts of $100 billion that they're looking at really end up being a wash when you look at the rise in expenses. The rise in expenses and inflation is just going to make the cuts pretty much dead even. So what would get us back into what we had during President Clinton, and that was a surplus?
See, I don't think we can do that any longer, and that's what I talk about when I think we're past that point or over the cliff, that just tinkering around the edges having the economy stimulated and sort of tide us over. Because I think we're past that point. I think it's much more major. It has to be structural. It has to be philosophic. We have to change our foreign policy. We have to change our monetary policy. We have to change our entitlement system. We have to admit that we don't have $222 trillion for the entitlement system. And we're nowhere close to even talking about that. We're talking about, you know, $80 billion cut here and there. So that's why I think we'll just postpone the inevitable until a much bigger crisis comes, and that could come any time, but it'll probably come next year or so, and then we will be forced to do it because people will start rejecting the money and interest rates will crop up, and they'll quit buying our debt, and there will be no other choice but for us to face up to the reality that we're broke.
Well, one thing that we have to face up to is the enormous increase in spending that began with President Obama. I mean, he increased, first it was the $800 billion stimulus, which was supposed to be a one-shot deal, but he's carried that over year after year, and that's why we have a $1 trillion deficit for the past 4 years, including the last fiscal year that just ended at the end of September. So that $800 billion that was supposed to be a one-time shot for the economy has turned into a bottom-line budget going year after year ever since.
But it seems like the American people said, well, don't cut my spending. I want reassurance. I want you to keep bailing out the auto industry, and I want you to keep sending the welfare checks. And so it does continue. But if he thought that was, I don't believe that Obama says, I want to hurt the American people. I think it's lack of understanding of economics that he doesn't see that as a danger by keeping spending. So therefore, he's not admitting the truth about how serious this is.
We only have a little bit of time left, but we'd really like your solution to this. You said, oh, we'll just kick the can down the road and wait for another crisis. But if you were in charge, what would start us? You said philosophical changes. You said really redoing how we look at international relations and things. Are you saying, yes, chop defense, yes, chop entitlements?
I wouldn't chop defense, but I'd chop militarism, and I'd start bringing the troops home and get rid of the empire so that we just mind our own business. But we could change the rules with the Fed. The Congress tomorrow could pass a law and say that the Fed can't monetize debt. Let interest rates go up. And that all of a sudden would change the whole picture thing. You'd have market rates of interest, and the market rate of interest is very, very important interest, but we don't have that. We had all these bubbles form because we had artificially low interest. We have artificially low interest now. Banks get all this money for free, and they put it back in the Federal Reserve. So everything is artificial. So I would say restore the market, sound money, cut this overseas spending, and go after the entitlement system. But nobody's ready for that. Neither side is ready for that. And now even the Republicans are talking about not real cuts, but raise taxes.
Are you buying gold?
Oh, I've sort of done that for a few years. I started when it was $35 an ounce, so I don't know if I'm going to quit yet.
Thank you, Congressman. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Thanks a million.
All right. So there's a dose of reality of what's going on in preparation for the times ahead. All right? You don't always hear that on the mainstream news. They don't want you to know. Okay, now we're going to put a puzzle together here. We're going to zip through this quickly. These are different pieces that all point someplace that we know where it's going. Petraeus scandal reveals massive Islamic infiltration in Obama administration, like we didn't already know. Jill Kwan Kelly was the hand-picked lobbyist for the Muslim nations and their agenda at Central Command. Kelly, who is part of the soap opera that the Petraeus scandal spawned, was in charge of hosting parties and social events to push the Islamic agenda of Middle Eastern countries. She was seen by Muslim Mideast nations, especially Hezbollah-controlled Lebanon, as the go-to woman to push their agenda on top American generals. She was a lobbyist for their cause and yet wasn't required to register as a lobbyist like all others who made the host lavish parties for top American officials like she did in an attempt to influence U.S. policy in the Middle East. All right, going to move from there because you've heard plenty of this story, but there's a whole article there to read. Then you go over to this one here. This is another piece around Obama. This one deals with the posse. Cold case posse boss fingers Hawaiian officials. An angry statement just sworn by lead investigator of the team assigned to review Barack Obama's birth certificate says Hawaii officials who are Democrats like Obama are using elaborate non-cooperation to conceal birth records from law enforcement and the public. The sworn affidavit comes from cold case posse lead Mike Zullo just a week after the publication of a sworn mathematical analysis demonstrating the near zero probability that the White House birth certificate is genuine. Also, a math professor from Louisiana State University, Charles Detzel, has confirmed and endorsed that the mathematical conclusion is yet another sworn statement. Zullo, a seasoned sleuth who heads the team deputized by Sheriff Joe Arpaio, recently re-elected in Maricopa County, fingers the Hawaii governor's deputy attorney general and health department chief as obstructing justice. Obstructing justice. Okay, moving on from there. Now, what do all these things have to get together? What's a common thread with all of this? Obama. Here's another one. Obama gives secret directive, or Obama's secret directive gives cyber control to military for national security. Google is stating in their most recent transparency report that the United States government has stepped up their surveillance on citizens. According to the internet giant, more personal data is being profiled on Americans and their habits on the web. Dorothy Chow, senior policy analyst at Google, explains government demands for user data have increased steadily since we have launched the transparency report. Google says that they have been refusing to comply with government requests to take down content on the internet because of fake court orders that appear to be frivolous or illegitimate. Using the claim that content being removed is racist in nature or defaming of public figures, governments around the world are requesting that the internet be censored. However, this new trend is indicative of the Big Brother controls being enacted against free speech of citizens in sovereign nations. France, Germany, Italy, Spain, and the UK have topped the list of countries that seek to control content on the internet. Okay? Look at that. Look at this guy. What do you think of this guy? Look how they make him out to be. They make him like there's a halo behind him and everything. Antichrist. Can you say Antichrist? There you go. All of these stories. If you can tell me that this is an honest man and the things that are going on in this man's administration is honest, I don't believe you are really paying attention. And there's information out there, enough information pointing this man as the Antichrist. And yet there are still out there many who claim to love Jesus, but yet deny the information that comes from his mouth, from the words that are translated. Is it a coincidence that there is a translation, Luke chapter 10, verse 18, that translates Satan Barack Obama? Is that a coincidence? And is it so easy for you to dismiss out there? All you got to do is look at the man's actions. You shall know them by the fruit they yield. Important words. Pay attention, folks. It's happening right in front of your eyes, but some are so brain dead from all of the propaganda and distractions thrown at you that a lot of people aren't paying attention, dismissing what's right before their eyes. Stop it. Pay attention. Look. Listen. Okay. Here, this is what's going on overseas. You've heard plenty of this, or maybe you haven't. Commanders, prepare troops for ground invasion. Okay, IDF commanders began Friday morning to brief their troops in advance of a possible ground invasion. Play this here so you can see in the background. Thousands of reservists have been called up for duty, and a total of at least 16,000 will be summoned for service. While troops are gathering outside Gaza, terrorists in the area are continuing their attacks on civilian communities in southern Israel. More than 40 rockets have been fired since Friday morning. Okay, now we're going to move from there Let's jump to this one first. This is something that goes along with that. All these leaflets were being dropped, just like they were back in the past. Back in the past, look at this. Leaflets being dropped. IAF dropping thousands of warning leaflets to the Gaza Strip residents yesterday in order to minimize civilian casualties. Looks like thousands of white doves flying above Gaza. All right? This is real. This is what's going on. Now, amidst all of this, we've got the dictator in the office, and this is another. This is at the whitehouse.gov. This is another petition. We request that Obama be impeached for the following reasons. 1. He proclaimed war in Libya without getting Congress approval first. Article 1, Section 8, only Congress can approve to start war. 2. Obamacare is unconstitutional, forcing U.S. citizens to get health insurance whether they want it or not. 3. Obama disrespects our Constitution, calling it flawed and trying to change it even after taking his oath. The oath, he said, was, I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully execute the office of the President of the United States and to the best of my ability preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. We know he hasn't been doing that. And 4th, appointing agency czars without Senate approval. Signatures needed by December 11th, 25,000. Look how many signatures are here. 28,000. They've gone past the threshold. This is the point where the government says they will look at it. So, got a petition at the White House website that has reached a threshold of signers requesting Obama be impeached. Let's see where this goes. All right. Very important with all the changes going on that we are prepared, because, you know, when you got jackasses out there in the world that are doing stupid things and causing wars and problems, you have to be prepared, because sooner or later their nonsense is going to be in close proximity where you are, and you want to be able to avoid it if all possible. You want to be able to be prepared. So this is a list that says 10 items to stockpile for natural or political disasters. Even if you don't fear economic meltdown, war, tyranny, nature doesn't care who's in control of the government. At this writing, it's 12 days after Hurricane Sandy struck the northeastern United States, and there are still hundreds of thousands of people without food, water, fuel, heat, and electricity. So, in that regard, here are 10 things. Be prepared. 10 things you should have. Okay? Water and non-perishable food. At least 1 gallon of water per person per day. Get a Berkey water filter is recommended if you need to cut down. Flashlights and batteries, candles, matches, lighters, clothes and blankets, portable stove or camp stove, alternate heat, liquor, coffee, cigarettes. They're good barter items if you don't use them. Guns and ammunition, medical kit, and tools, some basic tools. So, some basic things. Basic things. Everybody has these in their house, but we just get rid of them all the time. We use them. We don't always pay attention. We don't always know where they are. Have them handy, just in case. It's just a set of steps along the way that are organizing your life, so if something goes on, you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about it because you know you've got some sense of organization. And even if you don't necessarily have an opportunity to use those things, let's say you're away from where all these things are when something happens, the fact that you've gone through an organizational process sticks up here. It's an indication that your mind is organizing itself as well, and that's important. So, good. Just organize. Okay, this next article here is in the category of sad but true, because there's been a lot of people on the planet telling others with cancer not to get chemotherapy. For years and for years and for years, you've been told over and over. But people don't listen, so they keep going in front of the radiation machines. Well, here, a team of researchers looking into why cancer cells are so resilient accidentally stumbled onto a far more important discovery. While conducting their research, the team discovered that chemotherapy actually permanently damages healthy cells and subsequently triggers them to release a protein that sustains and fuels tumor growth. Beyond that, it even makes the tumor slightly resistant to future treatment. Stop getting chemotherapy. There are plenty of alternative treatments out there. Plenty of alternative treatments, okay? Things that go on, sicknesses, illness, it's conditions of what's going on in the mind. What's going on? We can cure these things. We can heal these things. But we have to step away from these outdated modes of healing because they don't work. This is like in the past when they used to put the leeches to suck the blood out of people. We don't need to do that anymore. We've moved past that. So we don't need to be shooting radiation in anymore. So if you know somebody out there, make sure they see this article. Somebody out there that has cancer, let them see this article. Turn them on to places where they can go get some alternative healing. We've had guests on the show. I've talked about it a number of times. There's plenty of sources. All you got to do is do a Google search, alternative healing methods for whatever ailment is going on that needs to be considered, and you can find something. But you could see traditional medicine here, it doesn't work. Okay, now 2 more things here. We're here to talk about Nibiru, or this giant brown dwarf star that's out there. Well, there's now a theory that's out there that, because we get a lot of pictures people are taking of Nibiru. We've seen these pictures, and then you got debunkers saying, nope, there's no picture or anything, there's nothing out there, and then there'll be another picture will show up at some time. So people are wondering, why is this? Why is sometimes you see things, why you don't? Well, this article is a good article. It's a theory that perhaps there's something more involved, maybe surrounding it, maybe an electromagnetic field of some sort. And the idea of a pulsar is what was presented. A pulsar is a pulsating star that is highly magnetized, rotating neutron star that emits a beam of highly electromagnetic radiation. The radiation can only be observed when the beam emission is pointing toward the Earth, much the way a lighthouse can only be seen when the light is pointed in the direction of the observer and is responsible for the pulsed appearance of emission. Neutron stars are dense. They have a short regular rotational period. This produces a very precise internal interval between pulses in the range from roughly milliseconds to seconds for an individual pulsar. So there's more to this. This is just one thing. You can look up pulsar, but this is a Wikipedia entry here. Just the idea is that there's something that we need to learn a little bit more about, and maybe this explains why people sometimes will see and get pictures and other times they don't. It's only one theory, doesn't mean it's right. It's something to consider, and in this time, considering all the different possibilities that are outside of the box, probably a good idea, because humans have been for far too long inside the box, stuck inside the box. Got to think outside the box now because times are changing rapidly. Okay, before we do the meditation, I have one more piece that we're going to do here to wrap things up. This is from in5d.com. It is Dolores Cannon. So kind of like bookends. We had her at the beginning, now we got here. This is a piece in which it's called Volunteer Souls DNA Upgrade. You heard her talk about it briefly at the very end of the last piece. Listen to this, and then we're going to meditate. Here we go.
The 3 waves that I found. The first wave, that they must be now in their early 50s, their 40s or their early 50s, because the first one I discovered had just turned 30 years old, and that was 20 years ago, and I'm still in touch with him. Now this wave, when they came in, these are the people, they don't want to be here. They don't like it here. They can't stand the violence. They want to go home, but they don't know where home is. They just know it's not here. They're very gentle people. These are not conspirators. They're not people who want to hurt anyone. They're just here to change by existing, by being here. So they are living among us just as ordinary people, but it's very, very difficult for them because they feel out of place. you can understand why. Because the ones I've talked to, and this is all over the world, they said they have a good family, they had a good job, but they just didn't want to be here. They wanted to go home. And many of them did try to commit suicide, especially in their earlier years, because they just couldn't take it here. But after I worked with them and they find out why they're here, then they change and they said, all right, I may not like it here, but I'm going to do my job. This is the first wave of people. Another characteristic of these first wave, they don't like violence, but they can't understand emotion. Anger and fear upset them and paralyze them to where they can't handle it. So many of them kind of remain as loners because the whole emotional thing of Earth is just so chaotic. See, Earth is a very challenging planet, and they said you're very brave to come to Earth and want to experience what's here. We're here to learn emotions and limitations. And some people, that's very difficult. Okay, the second wave are different. They are in their 20s and their 30s now. They're just below the age group of the first wave. I call them the antennas, the channelers, the generators. This is what they're called. They're different. They didn't have near the problem that the first wave did. They are here not to do anything. They're just here to be. Their energy that they generate in their body affects everyone they come in contact with. Can you see how this is going to help change the world? They just live by themselves, or they work from home. They're very gentle people, but they say they could walk through a mall of people or a grocery store and affect everyone that they came in contact with. Very positive energy. And both of these groups don't want to have children. Now, when they come in, they said there's like a shield, I guess you would say, put over them so they cannot accumulate karma. It's to keep them from accumulating karma. And the majority of them don't want children because children causes karma when you have children. They want to do their job and get out of here. They don't want to be stuck on Earth. They want to go back to where they came from. They're just a volunteer. You wouldn't even know them. They just blend in very easily. They don't have the problems. And I asked them, why did the first one have so many problems where the second wave didn't? They said somebody had to be the beginning. Someone had to be the pioneers. They were the way showers. They had to blaze the trail. That's why they had so much difficulty. Then the second group were easier for them to follow. The third wave are the new children, and we're all familiar with them now. And they are the ones, they are called the gift to the world. They're different. Their energy is different. They come in knowing so much more. And they said the DNA has already been changed. Now, our DNA is being worked on constantly. This is part of the abduction stuff. Everything that is happening has to do with the DNA is being changed. But they're very concerned about the effects of the additives in our food and the pollutants in the air and what we're doing to our bodies. That explains a lot of the abductions with the examinations. They're trying to find cures for cancer and for all the other diseases. And when this happens, they will give these subconsciously to different scientists so they can develop cures on their own. But also, the DNA is being manipulated so that we don't get sick and we will live longer. And the children are coming in with it already in place. I just read an article. The scientists are doing examinations of our DNA. They are finding something definitely has happened. We are turning into a totally new species of human, that our DNA is different than it was even 20, 30 years ago. They said we are turning into a species that cannot get sick. So I said, aha. They're finally beginning to find proof of it. I asked them one time, Well, the scientists know something. The doctors notice something is different. They said no because they won't know what to look for. But it's there. It's not demonic. It's not negative. It shows how they are helping the world. Otherwise, they said, "Oh, we're going to destroy ourselves," and they can't allow that to happen.
Okay, so good info, right? Do you remember volunteering? Do you remember how that went? Volunteer, let's go to Earth. It'll be a good time, right? Are you having fun? It's been a bit of a challenge, but it'll be nice to get back to where we once came from, right? I don't know about you, but I'll be glad to get off of this rock, to go back where there isn't all the violence and the wars and the fighting, because I'm telling you, Earthlings are crazy. You know what I'm talking about. A lot of great Earthlings down here, but a lot of crazy, insane ones and what have you. All right, meditation time. So go ahead and close your eyes, relax. All right, all right. Take a deep breath. Exhale. Imagine all of your chakras are activated from the bottom of the spine upward. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet, and indigo. Light continues on. Honor the connection to the cosmos and to the earth. Honor your connection to all that is, was, and ever shall be. Now, I want you to go into the deep recesses of your mind. I want you to imagine that you're on a quest. And this quest is to find who you are, where you are from, and why you are here. Because intuitively you know that you are not of the earth, and that your purpose is much greater than what it is appeared to be. And as you search and search, imagine searching all over, you find a chest buried deep in your unconscious. And you open the chest, and in that chest you find a book of life. It's a book of your life. And as you read through the book of your life, it talks of journeys on other planets, time spent in other solar systems, and then of course the reasoning why you chose to come to Earth and what your purpose is. And as you look through the book, you are reminded. And as you are reminded, you start to remember. And as you remember, you expand in consciousness. Because the idea which was once unconscious, buried deep, the memories now come to the surface, to the conscious. And as we are consciously aware of what is going on and what we are about, we have the opportunity to affect more positive change in the world. So from this place, let us just send out love. Send out love to each and every individual along this planet, no matter who they are. No matter how good or how bad, everyone needs love. So send out love. And then send this love down into the earth, because the earth is going through a change and she likes to know that we're in sync with her, that we are loving her as she is loving us. And then send the energy up into the cosmos, so that the cosmos knows that we are sending in love and part of the love process just as she is. Now let's just think a good thought for everybody. Wish everybody an awesome weekend. an awesome time to grow and expand in consciousness, to stretch further than before. So as we hold these good thoughts in our mind, let us bring our energy and attention back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1, coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. There you have it. The end of another show, of another week. Thank you for being here. If you have any thoughts, ideas, questions, concerns, send an email, firstcontactradio@yahoo.com. Check out the page, firstcontactradio.com. There's links to all the stories that I do each and every day, so you can get that information and pass it along to others as well. Have a great weekend. I'll be back on Monday with more news and information. Be safe. I'll talk to you soon. Peace. I'm out of here.